everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 70592, Salvage M.E.C from the LEGO Ninjago theme. This set originally released in 2016 as a part of the Day of the Departed wave, and contained 439 pieces, 4 minifigures, and originally retailed for $39.99 in the US. This video is a part of my Ninjago throwback review series, so let me know in the comments which throwback review you guys want to see next week. It could be any Ninjago set from before 2019 that I haven't covered on the channel yet. I don't have all of them, but I do have a lot of them, so if there's any you'd like to see, let me know in the comments, and I'll keep that in mind for the next video. But with all that being said, let's take a look at the set. So here is the Salvage M.E.C, and this set was especially cool to me because it was an entire Ninjago set for a side character. That is something that we very rarely get nowadays. Like, for example, it did happen back in 2020, but that ended up being one of the worst Ninjago sets of all time, at least in my opinion. So as such, it's very few and far between that we get sets like this. I never had the original Ronin Rex from the Possession wave, but I always really wanted it, so when this set was announced, I was super excited that I would finally be getting a Ronin vehicle, and after building it up, I was very happy with it. But now taking a look back at it 6 years later, how well does it hold up? Well, let's take a look. This set's a weird one because it's really ugly, but it's also designed to be. It's meant to look scrapped together from different parts. I mean, it's in the name, it's called the Salvage M.E.C. The idea is Ronin salvaged different pieces together to make this M.E.C. So as such, they can get away with a little more of this M.E.C than they could normally. I'm still not a fan of how the feet look though. Just looking at official pictures, apparently I had that angled wrong. But yeah, I'm just not the biggest fan of how the feet look. These red pieces seem like they're too far back, it's too blocky at the front right here. All around, they're just alright. Kind of boring, kind of ugly. Accomplish what they need to, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. Moving up the leg, very thin at the bottom. They're still using the CCPS pieces for like the ball joints and whatnot. I really like this piece right here. I believe that's like the front to the cars from the LEGO Cars theme. Olive green is a very cool recolor for that part and works perfectly for like knee pads. And also olive green's a color that we don't get all too often in LEGO in general, but it is a part of Ronin's color scheme, so it's very cool seeing that here. I do like the variation of the red at the top versus the orange at the top. Again, adds to the overall like salvage vibe. Pretty cool stickered pieces coming out of the knees. Oh, and of course I didn't mention it, but these are like the false knees, where they can't actually bend, but they're designed to look like bent knees. And then funnily enough, Ronin actually has a musket right here, which is meant to be removed. This is one of the very few Ninjago sets to include any type of gun piece, so that is wacky to see, but it's more of a historical gun than a modern gun, so I suppose that's how LEGO justifies it. But that is a very cool part to get, because that has come in very few Ninjago sets. So if you're someone who exclusively collects Ninjago, this set was probably a new way to get this in your collection. On the other side, there's something that's a little bit more fun. There's actually a skateboard right here, which is removable. Now, just as a part of the build, I think the skateboard is awesome. It like perfectly embodies the idea in my mind of like what LEGO is. Just building things out of unconventional parts. The idea of a mech that uses a skateboard as a part of its design is awesome to me. But you can also remove it and use it as an actual skateboard. And you can see it's got a sticker on top, got some flames at the bottom, and yeah, it's just a traditional LEGO minifigure skateboard. Very cute idea and fun inclusion, but I think it looks best attached to the mech. There's a closer look up at that sticker on the orange piece, by the way. Moving up to the torso can be independently turned from the body. That's something we see sometimes in mechs, but not always. But obviously it really increases the range of motion, so I do appreciate that. I also really like the rounded bubble design for the cockpit. Like, there's no proper head on the mech, the body is the head. And that's genuinely really cool. They have like the kendo armor design on the window. That's a printed piece. That's very cool to see. It looks great and it fits Ronin perfectly. It opens up. There's plenty of room to stand a minifigure in there. Don't know how easy it is to see, but the actual control panel for the vehicle is on these like red wing pieces that face in. That's a fun way to include that without it like actually taking up that much space. And again, those are both stickered parts. But of course, you place Ronin inside the mech and you can close it back up around him. Yeah, there you go. Even with his like swords and armor and everything, he still fits. Plenty of room going on in there. I really love the use of the gold spinner crowns right here to transition from the body to the arms. I do think the top is maybe a bit flat. That could have been done a bit more naturally, but the spinner crowns do look really cool. And then the arms themselves are just alright. I view these the same way I view the feet on this mech. Like, they're not bad and they do fit the whole salvage vibe, but as such they are very ugly. Intentionally ugly? Probably, but ugly nonetheless. The arms on ball joints though, pretty good range of motion, and because this is an older set, it's squeaking a lot. There is an elbow here, but it is just on a hinge. Regardless though, there's still a pretty good range of motion you can get with it, especially when combined with a ball joint, and with the torso being able to turn. At the end of this hand, you have a spring-loaded shooter, as well as 4 individually posable fingers, which can grab onto whatever you like. Ronin's hat's also included here as a part of the mech, which is pretty cool, because the minifigure in the set comes with his hair, so that way you can swap it out. You can use him with his hair or with his hat, but when you're not using the hat, you can store it on the vehicle, and it seems like it's meant to be a part of the design, which is very cool. On the other arm, they bring in more of the orange. There's this little cabinet here, which can be opened up, and there's a hot dog as well as a gold crystal inside. I guess these are some of Ronin's valuables. But with that closed up, it sort of doubles as an imaginary cannon. At least that's what I suspect these pieces are meant to look like. Once again, there's an elbow on the arm, but this time you have stud shooters at the very end. And they did something kind of fun here. The stud shooter has a net on it, so the idea was you try to launch at a villain vehicle to trap the villains. Let's see if we can do that here. No, okay, it doesn't fly very far. So maybe it's meant to be something more like this. Would this one work? Yeah, okay, that actually trapped him. Yeah, so I generally think that's a fun mix-up to the stud shooter formula. The net piece is very cool to get, and it's also very easily removable. If you don't like it, you can just also use it as a basic stud shooter. Coming around the back, you have a surprisingly intricate design with like these golden blades, little control panel sticker at the front, and if you can't tell, that's because this is removable. It's actually meant to be a little flyer. You just push it up and pull it out, and there's how the back of the Salvage Mech looks with it removed, which is honestly very ugly. But taking a look at the flyer up a little bit closer, you can see there's room for one minifigure to sit, a little thruster out the back for it to fly around. And then there's also a second transformation with just this. You can remove the gold blades from the front, moved into the mech's hand, and the fingers can close up around it, of course. And that transforms the spring-loaded shooter into more of a crossbow, but then you can also move the blades out, and then it's a melee weapon for the mech to fight with. There's a lot of versatility there, which I actually quite enjoy. They really put a lot of time and care into designing this mech and making it fun, and I really do appreciate that, because I really think it shows. In terms of posability, the mech is pretty good. Obviously, because it is on the bigger end, there is a limit there, but compared to like the Titan mechs that we get nowadays, it is still on the lighter side, so you could get it in walking poses like this where it has like 1 foot up, and that's not going to cause it to completely topple over, so that's something that is, of course, always very nice to see. Then taking a look at the little skeleton mech, this thing is very basic, but it is adorable, and it's one of my favorite Ninjago builds of all time. I know it's simple, I know there's not much going on, but man, do I love this. It's so basic, right? So many exposed studs and whatnot, but it is just a ton of fun. I want to see more side builds like this. Like, this could be its own little polybag build, but regardless of what it came in, I'm just so glad it exists at all. It uses the classic skeleton symbol at the top that they used to have on the motorbikes and whatnot in the original wave. The arms are mini ball joints with little elbows that can open up or bend in, and then they have little clips in the hands to be able to hold swords and whatnot. Because this thing is so small, balance really isn't an issue for it, so there's a lot of fun poses you can get it in. And of course, there's how it looks when you open it up. You could place the skeleton inside, and then of course close it back up around him. And I really don't have much else to say because it is very simple, but this build is goofy and fun and one of my favorites of all time. I absolutely adore it. I mean, look at this. How can you not love this? So here are the first two minifigures in the set. We of course have Ronin, and then we also have Skybound Nya. Ronin is a fantastic minifigure. He has had some of the coolest minifigure designs. I do think I slightly prefer his original design to this one, but both are very cool. Lots of different colors going on, but he does manage to use them all very well. Like, it doesn't feel like it's too much. It's used perfectly. And again, fits that whole salvage, like, slapped together vibe that he's going for. I especially love the leg print on him with, like, the screwdriver and the metal plate on his leg. Lots of metallic printing going on, too. Genuinely just really detailed, very unique. And it's super cool that we got a second variant of this guy. Because, I don't know, second variants of side characters, not something we get all too often in Ninjago. Turning him around, you can see he has the double katana scabbard piece. This was originally introduced for Deadpool, and they've used it a few times for Ninjago. And then you can see there's how he looks with his mask off, his balls with his hair off. Very good face print, feels straight out of the show. Maybe not the expression that he made the most, but it is definitely an expression he made in the show, so I can't complain about it. No alternate face on him, just a strap for his eye patch, and that's because if he's wearing his hat, you will see the back of his head. And then very detailed design on the back of his torso. It looks like he has some sort of elaborate mechanical backpack going on. The orange and the green just look so good together. I absolutely love it. Yeah, this is a very, very cool minifigure. And then Skybound Nya in this set is weird. Skybound Nya, just the suit is fantastic. I absolutely love it. It's the only time Nya used dark red as her main color, which is very strange, but I'm not against it because it worked really well for what that suit was. The blue phoenix design on it too is very cool as well. And then the blue wings in the back too, where it looks like she has the original Samurai X symbol. It's a cool callback to where she came from. And the Skybound suits in general are all just fantastic. So this one is no exception. The weird thing about this minifigure is this is a Day of the Departed set. Why does she come in this set at all? It really should come in Day of the Departed Nya, who is exclusive to a $120 set, so it would have been nice to get her for significantly cheaper here, but I felt like LEGO wanted to keep that figure exclusive, so they did the Skybound one instead, even though it wasn't canon at all. Additionally, she came with no hood in this set for some reason. Where's her hood? I don't know. It came to the other sets the suit comes in, but not this one for some reason. And because of the lack of any hood, you were exposed to one of the main issues with Nya figures back in 2016, and a lot of you guys might not even remember this, but for some reason, starting in late 2015 into 2016 and 2017, they decided that Nya didn't need unique face prints anymore like the other ninja have. No, instead she was just going to be given this generic city face, which is just weird. Number one, it doesn't look like how Nya looks at the show at all, and number two, just giving her a generic face, like, This is used for nameless characters on LEGO City all the time. The fact that they gave it to Nya was ridiculous. She had much better faces on her Samurai X suits, so I remember back in 2015, I just ordered 1,000,000 of the Samurai X head, so that every time I got one of these figures, I would swap out the head for the Samurai X one, because that one was just better. So yeah, it was a weird choice that they switched to this, and it wasn't super noticeable when you had her hood on, but in a set like this, where she doesn't come with a hood at all, it was very clear that that is not the face she was supposed to have. So yeah, this figure in its entirety is very bizarre. The suit itself is good, but the situation surrounding it is just weird. Then the two villain minifigures in the set, we have Krazi and we have Chopov. Hey, so real quick thing I noticed while editing, that is not Chopov on the right, that is Frakjaw. I got the two of them confused because back in 2011, Chopov was the one who had the biker helmet, and Frakjaw had a straw hat. But for Day of the Departed, they gave Frakjaw the biker helmet instead, and because they were all red, the colors weren't a clear indicator for me. So yeah, that was just a little slip up right there. Trust me, I do know my Ninjago skeletons, they're very important to me. But yeah, for the rest of this review, I'll be calling Frakjaw Chopov. But yeah, that is the Frakjaw minifigure. Okay, alright, back to the pre-recorded footage. The Skulkin, of course, were the very first Ninjago villains, so it was cool to see them remade for the first time ever. Now, they did make a weird choice by making these guys both red, because originally Krazi was the blue skeleton and Chopov was the gray one, but they changed them both to red for this wave, including changing Krazi's hat piece to the Harley Quinn one. Maybe this was just done because they didn't have the old Jester hat in production anymore, but they were still producing the Harley Quinn one. But regardless, I mean, it works. It's cool to see the redesign. They both have all new face prints too, which is nice to see as well. I wish they came with the original Skulkin armor, but I guess that was out of production, so it makes sense why they didn't. And also, it would have been nice if Samurai was in this set instead of these guys, but these guys are definitely better than no skeletons at all. The Day of the Departed weapons were always very cool to me. The skeletons had one of the lamer ones. I mean, the axe blades were cool, but for this to truly be a skeleton weapon, it probably should have been a bone piece instead of just a lightsaber blade, but that would have required an all-new part, so I understand that. But yeah, I mean, overall, these guys are cool. They're skeletons, so they're very simple. There's a look at their face once the headgear removed. I think Chopov especially has a very cool redesign for his face. And then turning them around, you can see they actually gave Chopov back head printing for the first time ever. That's a fun way to mix things up, but nothing new and crazy. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with these guys. Again, it would have been better if there was a Samurai to go with them, but as they are, they're still pretty great. So what are my overall thoughts on this set? I'm honestly really happy with this set. Is it ugly in a lot of places? Yes, but it's kind of meant to be. But at the end of the day, I feel like it really captures the spirit of LEGO, just combining different wacky pieces to create one, like, cohesive build. And I think this set does an excellent job of that. The visual aesthetic of the set obviously captures Ronin absolutely perfectly. And even though it was barely featured in the show, it's one that I'm very happy to have in my collection. The Snake Mech 2 as a side build is very cool. And also, this mech is pretty darn big for only $40. Especially compared to the prices we get on stuff nowadays. This was a really great deal at the time. The figure selection's pretty great too. Nya's weird, but the other three figures are all exclusive and all pretty great. So yeah, 100% I recommend this set. No clue how much this goes for in the aftermarket, but if it's near retail, I would highly recommend you pick it up. Because yeah, just all around, there's a lot of good here. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please just like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do LEGO and Ninjago videos just like this one almost every day, so if you subscribe, you'll be the first to see them. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, let me know which throwback review you guys want to see next week. But until then, I will see you all in the next one. Bye!